Hello everyone and welcome back guys to episode 8 of our F1 2020 Let's Make McLaren Great Again series, where today we're here back for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out on the last video that went live, I think last weekend now, I would definitely recommend going back and checking out from the Monaco Grand Prix. But yeah, I won't leave too many spoilers at the start of this video, but we've been on a good string of form since the start of the season. I'm hoping that can continue here today in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Obviously, if you are new around here, make sure you get yourself subscribed as well. I'm going to try and keep this series sort of once, maybe twice a week. Obviously, we're hopefully going to see the return of Jamie and I's Red Bull Co-op career mode as well. And then obviously F1 My Team is sort of still the main series on the channel at the moment. But yeah, jumping into this weekend though, you can see performance-wise, we're nearly there with Ferrari and Red Bull. We just need a couple more upgrades on the car, and the best way we can do that is obviously jumping into free practice. Let's do this thing. So after free practice then we have got 1500 R&D points once again on the car, so we should be able to go with the, we'll go with the secondary wing flaps upgrade for the car there. That should be out just after the Canadian Grand Prix before the French GP, and it should give us a better aero package than Ferrari. Chassis wise we're still a bit of a way back from the big three, and then power unit wise we're still just sat in the midfield at the moment here. We need that performance patch to come at some point, code is as well. But anyway, let's dive in. Actually, quickly before I say that, we need to just change over the MGUK, the MGUH, sorry, even I should say. We're running a little bit too much wear on that part at 61%. We're also going to swap out the turbocharger as well. So we are slowly getting through a few parts, but we're definitely still in good nick for the most part. Let's dive into qualifying. So here we are then, ready for qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Not really too sure how well the car's going to fare around this circuit. We're going to opt for 4-6 wings, pretty much standard stuff. Apart from that, ready for this race. We're going to run 4-5 on the ride height just to make sure we can get over the curbs. Obviously, you want to use a couple of the sausage curbs around this circuit. But let's head out then on to qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix here from Baku. Hopefully, yeah, we can just keep the lap nice and tidy. Obviously, last time out of Monaco, we had a brilliant qualifying session there. Don't quite think the same is going to be able to be said here at Baku. Just don't really think the car suits this place as much. But, you know, I'm always down to be surprised as well. First couple of corners, fairly tidy. A bit of wheel spin on the exit of turn 2. But obviously, yeah, the straight line speed, we're probably going to be running fairly well up until the final few corners of the lap. Braking just for the 100-metre board there, actually getting the car slowed down a little bit earlier than I was expecting, as now you can just see Bottas starting to creep in front, dinking the wall there off the exit the next couple of corners. Certainly not what we needed, but I think we got away with it as we head through in towards this little straightaway here. Not much, but still, you know, you can cycle up the car almost into 7th gear as you basically just use these corners to prepare yourself for the castle section. Nice and early on the brakes, ride the curbs all the way through, keep it nice and tidy, and then on the exit, short shifting up, actually pushing a little bit too wide there out towards the wall. Not quite what I had in mind, but I guess we've held on to it, and luckily not getting held up over a bit of dirty track surface there. Brake just at the 100 in towards the final few corners of the lap. Down the hill in towards sector 3, only one real corner in this sector, but make sure you get as good a run as you can out of the final proper corner, then down towards the finish line. Now we're just going to see Bottas start to roar away from us as we head through the chicane. He does actually make a bit of a mistake there, so we are gaining a bit once again on the Mercedes drivers. The DRS is going to be enabled around about now as well. You just sit and wait as you get to the start finish line. Top end speed doesn't actually seem too bad. I think it's P3. A lot better than I was expecting, in all honesty. But we will take it rather happily there. P3 in the end for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Very happy with that.
With qualifying finished, it's time to remind ourselves of our top 3. Bottas, Hamilton and Mr. Monaco. With qualifying complete, all that remains is the main event. We'll be live and uninterrupted for the Grand Prix tomorrow, so make sure you join us then.
So there we go then, qualifying done and dusted. A bit of a spicy grid in the end there. Valtteri Bottas on pole ahead of Lewis Hamilton, the OP Finn once again showing why he's OP on F1 2020. Myself in third ahead of Vettel, Leclerc, Verstappen, Ricciardo having a good job done up in P7 ahead of Raikkonen in 8th, Lando Norris in 9th, 1000th behind the Alfa Romeo driver there, with Alex Albon down in 10th place at the end of qualifying. It's not a track that really suits Red Bull. I was hoping, you know, we could have sort of been around Verstappen's pace, but to be 4/10 clear of him, I'm rather happy with that. Both racing points just miss out. I'm a little bit surprised with that one as well. But yeah, towards the rear of the field, you can see the Alpha Tower is the Haas, and of course the Williams rounding out the grid order there. Latifi ahead of George Russell. Fair play to him. Anyway, let's dive in then here for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix.
A warm welcome to all of you watching at home to today's Azerbaijan Grand Prix, and a race that in its short history has already proven no stranger to drama. A fourth row start is just about as likely to give you a podium as a pole position would. And remember, in 2017 and 2018, both Lance Stroll and then Sergio Perez took surprise podiums here. With 20 turns and a length of 3.7 miles, Baku City Circuit in the heart of the Azerbaijan capital is a real test of a driver's endurance, patience and precision. 90-degree corners through Sector 1 lead into a tightening uphill sprint as we start to circle around the old city. Then a 1.4-mile chase flat out through Sector 3 towards the finish line. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, and Lewis Hamilton completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Mr. Monaco, Vettel, Charles Leclerc and Verstappen, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Norris and Alexander Albon, Perez, Stroll, Esteban Ocon and Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Gasly, Kevin Magnussen and Daniel Kvyat. Latifi and George Russell ends our grid lineup. That's it then, it's time to go racing as we head to trackside for today's race.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are then on the grid, ready for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Obviously a race that has kicked up a lot of drama and controversy in the past, but hopefully today, for our own sake, it's a little bit more plain sailing here. Another brilliant qualifying session yesterday. I think we now definitely have a car that can at the very least battle with Red Bull here, and maybe if Ferrari struggle a bit more as well, we can definitely try and give them a bit of a run as well here. But yeah, really looking forward to this race. We're going to run with about 14.5 laps worth of spare fuel. 13-lap race, obviously, as always, a fairly simple one-stop as well. I know I get some questions from you guys about why these are 25%, not 50% races. Generally, I just like sort of having that My Team career mode where it's sort of the proper sort of meaty races and things like that. And then these ones that are a bit more sprint style as well. You know, it's nice to have a bit of a shake-up of things as well, so hopefully you guys understand that. But anyway, let's dive in then here for round 8 of the season from the Baku City Circuit. Hopefully we get a nice clean start, see if we can make it 2 podiums in a row. It's 5 red lights and it's not long at all on the hold. Neither Mercedes getting away all too well as Hamilton is going to have a look up the inside of Bottas in towards turn 1, and we've been completely collected by the Ferraris. What on earth was that? I just heard a huge amount of contact on the inside. We got a virtual safety car from that as well. But Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel, I think they both tried to dive bomb me into the first corner. We got a huge punt from the side, and well, we had to take complete evasive action through the first corner there. I'll show obviously some replay cameras as well from the off-board shots there. But yeah, really not too sure what that was to kick off this Grand Prix. Never quite have had a moment like that where we've been completely crowded out through turn 1 of a race, but that's put us right to the rear of the field then on the opening lap of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. I was going to say, based on the My Team stuff, normally the start of this race doesn't end up going all too well for us, and clearly the McLaren series is no different. We hopefully will be going green once again here in just a moment. A very long VSC. But finally, there we go, VSC will be coming in around about now. So now we've got our work cut out this weekend then. We're going to have to try and make up places as best as possible here. Green flag racing once again First up, Magnussen. The Ferrari still with one of the strongest power units in Formula 1. Obviously, this is still pre-performance patch. We don't know when that's quite coming just yet to F1 2020, but we have got a very quick car down the straights nonetheless if one-shot qualifying's anything to go by. Bottas still leads the way at the end of lap 1, but hopefully we can try and have a look past Magnussen. Russell is just going to completely slam the door shut there. Apologies to Magnussen as we accidentally had to swipe across him just a little bit. 3 wide into the first corner, but down the middle we make the move work. There's a couple of cars into the pits as well, so I'm guessing there was some contact in that first corner, hence why we got crowded out there. But you can see Gasly now not getting a particularly good run off of turn 2. He's going to sit on the inside there. I thought there was an opportunity up the inside, but he's actually then going to send it up the inside of Latifi. They're both just going to sit there. We get a lot of wheel spin off the exit, a little bit of wheel-to-wheel contact as now Magnussen tries to look around the outside. This is not what we want to be doing at the start of this race. We can see, yeah, Albon, I think that is, or it might be Verstappen, one of the Ferraris and one of the Alpha Tauris of Danny Kvyat in the pits at the end of lap 1. Coming to the end of lap 2, hopefully we're going to start taking a bit of time out of Latifi and Pierre Gasly here as Hamilton, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, applying a lot of pressure to his teammate. I think that's Raikkonen up into 4th as Latifi and Gasly going to go side by side. We're going to try and look around the outside of the pair of them in towards turn 1. Just about keep it between track limits there, but around the outside of 2 cars in one go. We will certainly take that, and we're up into 13th. Next up, Grosjean. On to the end of lap 3. We should be closing in quite rapidly on Romain Grosjean. We don't have much ERS in terms of deploy, but we certainly got a lot that we can utilise every single lap here. Grosjean, though, not much of a threat as the AI still going 3 wide in towards turn 1. It's looking rather scrappy as Albon, I think, gets caught out there in the sandwich between Ocon and Lance Stroll. Grosjean's going to try and send it up the inside. Baku, as always, is absolute carnage in these early laps there, but we're now almost back up into the points of this race. Ocon still sat in 10th. Jeff has just come over the radio warning us about the MG UK wear, so I wish I'd swapped that out before we got into the Grand Prix, but Ocon clips the inside curb there. A bit of a wobble for the Renault man. I don't think we're quite going to have the top end without having to use the ERS here, so we are still going to have to blast it as we head down towards turn 1. Obviously the same power unit in the Renault as ourselves, but we still can't get close enough through the first corner. Stroll's struggling a little bit with traction as well, though, but it's not going to be long before we have to dive into the pits. In fact, what we're probably going to do is if Lando dives it in this lap, then obviously we won't. If he doesn't, we're probably going to have to dive it in this time round. Can we get a run on Ocon this time? No. Doesn't stop me thinking about going for a send as he sits on the apex. This time round then, end of lap 5. We're definitely going to try and get ourselves all over the back of Ocon as we head out of the final chicane. Is Lando going to dive it in, or are we going to be able to this time round? I think Lando's staying out another one, so we're going to dive it into the pits at the end of this lap. Obviously got to be aggressive into the pits, skimming the wall on the way in. Don't think we could have pushed that a lot further than we did right then and there. I don't think we got any front wing damage from that. No, we did not. Luckily, it was just the wall, the tyre wall. But 2.7 second stop, not too shabby. We're going to be out still fairly close to whichever the Ferrari that's pitted already. And that is Charles Leclerc. Oh my god. Way a lot of understeer through the first corner. So we're going to come back out behind Charles Leclerc ahead of Max Verstappen in this Grand Prix. No idea where they were over the sort of bigger picture in this race, but that's hopefully not a bad omen. There we go. Lando is into the pits at the end of lap 6. I want to try and get around Charles Leclerc. I don't think he's going to hold us up too much, but if the opportunity opens itself up with fresh rubber, we might as well try and go for it here. As we head down the front straightaway, we're not gaining much on the Ferrari despite having the DRS, but we're going to give it absolutely everything as we head into the first corner. Purple final sector. Pretty even on the brakes. We got to give them the room around the inside, but we do make the move work. We got someone else coming out of the pit lane as well. We got to give them the room. Who's that? That's Lando. So it was a good job I did give him the room then, because I certainly didn't want any teammate contact. We are now up inside the top 10, however. The end of lap 7 then. We're definitely over the halfway stage in this Grand Prix. We got 2 more into the pits, so we should find ourselves back up into 7th place. We're going to come out just ahead of Antonio Giovinazzi, who's having a good race out for Alfa Romeo at the moment. We're now in an alpha sandwich. Not where I expected to be before this race, but hopefully we can still stay close to these guys. Giovinazzi, clearly with the DRS down in towards turn 3, not quite close enough to make anything work. End of lap 8, we got a good run on Kimi Räikkönen here. We might be able to try and go for something down in towards turn 1. He doesn't have any DRS on Sergio Perez just in front of him, who always seems to go well around this circuit. To the outside of Räikkönen, and we're now up into P6. Team just warning us about the tyres. I don't think they're feeling that bad at the moment. 5 to go here from Baku. We've got a very, very quick car. We might still be able to get sort of P4 out of this, and we might be able to get to the Renault. Lap 9, we are really flying at the moment. Just seem to be in a good groove with these mediums as we dink the wall there out of the final chicane. We are closing in on Sergio Perez, but we don't have much ERS to use at this stage of the day. Perez once again are going to go defensive on us, but we move ourselves up into 5th place of this Grand Prix. Remember, obviously, the fact lap 1, we were down in 20th, so it really has been a good recovery so far, but there's definitely more to be had. Ricciardo, another man that goes well around this track, next up on the old hit list. Just under 3 to go then here from Baku, and it seems like Sebastian Vettel on his hards is really, really struggling at the moment. Both Ricciardo and myself have both very, very quickly closed up to the back of the Ferrari driver here. He must hope that the top-end speed that Ferrari's been famed for ever since the start of the season can once again come in clutch. End of lap 11, 2 to go here from Baku, and look at that, Ricciardo and Vettel really now starting to go at it as we head out the final couple of corners. Ricciardo's going to try and make the move work up the inside of Sebastian as we head down the 1.4 kilometre front straightaway here, and he does seem to be right the way around him. Are we going to be close enough to go for anything down in towards turn 1? Not quite brave enough to go for a Daniel Ricciardo style dive bomb there, but yeah, the Renault man up onto the podium. A little bit of contact between myself and Seb there. That's really not helped out either of us. We might be able to get the run though on the exit. We can't afford to let Danny Rick get away here, and yes, Seb must have an issue with that Ferrari. He just seems so slow at the moment, but yeah, now we're both round him. It looks like it might be Renault versus McLaren for the final place on the podium with just a lap and a half to go here from Azerbaijan. Coming on then towards the final lap of this Grand Prix, we're not going to try and use too much ERS to make the move work this time round. We're just going to try and ball it all up ready for the final lap of this race. We've got a little bit of spare fuel as well, if obviously we need to use that, but really not much ERS in the car, and like the team have warned us about all race long, the MGU H-wear as well, really, really bad at the moment, so we need to make sure we get a good run through the first and middle sector here. Obviously we can afford to run the rich revs to find a little bit of time where possible, but yeah, just trying to save as much of that ERS for the final straightaway of this Grand Prix. Almost hitting the wall through turn 3. You've really just got to try and chuck it in, get nice and straight out on the exit before you apply too much power, otherwise you're just going to cost yourself a lot of time through the wheel spin. Nice and tidy through the next couple of turns. We just about avoid the wheel spin through there as well. Down in towards the castle section, making a bit of gains on Ricciardo on the way in, but just losing it all on the way out. Don't hit that wall, that was rather close. That's really set us back just a few tenths from the Australian as we get a bit of a wobble on off the exit of the corner. Now we're going to have to try and use some ERS just to get ourselves a little bit closer once again to the back of the Renault. That was not what we needed as we head down the hill. It's all going a bit topsy-turvy at the end of this Grand Prix. We need a good run out of the final proper corner if we want to be able to do anything here against Daniel Ricciardo. The gap's back over a second, so we might have just bottled this on the final lap of the Grand Prix. Hamilton is going to come through for the race victory. We are going to start taking time out of Ricciardo again. You can see just how much we're gaining on the Renault as we head down the front straightaway. We're still gaining massively on the Renault. Who's going to be able to get this as we head towards the line? Ricciardo, but only just.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
Yes, another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. Ant, talk to me. What do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
Well, this was a real team victory. They put together a solid strategy today that appeared well suited to the conditions out on track. The driver did everything that was expected of them in the moment to really execute the team's plan to perfection. A shining example of how F1 really is a team sport.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again. And now let's take a look at the driver's standings. More points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day, Anthony Davidson. Who do you pick?
Definitely Antonio Giovinazzi, isn't it? No matter what the rest of the field threw at him, he didn't put a foot wrong. Superb drive from him.
It's time to see how things are shaping up in the Constructors' Championship. Mercedes move to the top of the table. I'm equal parts exhausted and elated with this weekend of Formula One. Be sure to join us for the next one.
So there we are then, the end of the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Hamilton, fastest lap and the race victory. He didn't quite get it hooked up in qualifying, but on the race, he was basically unstoppable there. Mercedes, they got out in front and then really never looked back as the carnage kicked off behind them in this Grand Prix there. Ricciardo, though, always nice to see the smiling Australian getting a podium, but a little bit gutted that he edged us out by just 66 thousandths of a second at the end of the day, and what would have probably been one of my greatest recovery drives on F1 2020 there. Vettel in 5th, Perez, Raikkonen and Giovinazzi there. A very, very good day out for Alfa Romeo, up in 7th and 8th, with Stroll in 9th, and then Charles Leclerc in the other Ferrari. A torrid day out in P10 there. Lando struggling to 11th place, with Red Bull 12th and 14th at the end of the Grand Prix. I didn't realise this was Season 2 of my Team career mode as well there. Ocon able to split them in the end. I'm sure he's a bit gutted looking at how well his teammate did in the end there. Ahead of both Haas, both AlphaTauris and both Williams rounding out the finishes there. Championship-wise though, we're still P4 at the moment. Vettel gets the jump on his teammate Charles Leclerc there. But yeah, Bottas a 41-point lead at the top after just 8 races is very, very good going there. Hamilton leapfrogs his way all the way up into P5 ahead of Verstappen there. As you can see, Ricciardo now jumps Lando Norris by just a single point up into 7th, as both of them are still ahead of Alexander Albon there. Sergio Perez rounding out the top 10 ahead of Raikkonen after a good points haul. Stroll and then Giovinazzi moves up past Ocon, Magnussen and Romain Grosjean there, as well as Pierre Gasly with his first points on the board. Just leaves Danny Kvyat and the Williams yet to score this season there. Constructors-wise, though, Mercedes now on top by just 6 points over Ferrari after Hamilton finally seems to be getting back on track in the early stages of this season. We're still third, 32 clear of Red Bull as well there. You can see Renault up in P5 still after another great race out. Racing Point, Alfa Romeo, Haas, AlphaTauri, and then Williams rounding out the constructors there. But thank you all so much for watching. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back very, very soon, probably either at the weekend or early next week, where we head to round 9 of the season from the Canadian Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.